Hey folks, if you like what I'm putting out here on Geekdom 101 and want to hear my thoughts on other aspects of geek culture like video games, TV shows, movies, pro wrestling, and more, check out my second channel, World of Geekdom. I will leave a link down below for you to check that out. I thank you and I hope you enjoy it. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is out, and there's a lot of controversy behind this game because Toriyama is involved in the creative process behind the game, but there are several new pieces of lore that have been introduced in the game that people are getting kind of confused about, some of which contradict the original manga, some of which just expand upon things, and some of which are really, really weird. Now, like I said in my previous video about Piccolo's destruction of the moon, which was the first video I did about DBZ Kakarot, and the changes that the game gave us, a lot of folks seem to think that because it was stated that Toriyama was helping out with the game, that it somehow makes what is in this game more canon or more important and somehow changes the original manga, but that's not the case at all. Like I've said several times, Toriyama has helped make several games in the past, including Heroes and Dragon Ball Online, and very few people actually consider those things canon. In fact, it's pretty impossible to think so. The word canon is so overused in this fandom, and it's caused so much confusion that I've tried to make people understand that it does not matter. Canon has never mattered in Dragon Ball from day one. Outside of the original manga, everything else is extra. Now, we have some new stuff here regarding the transformation to a great ape that Saiyans go through that seems to be some very bizarre changes to the Dragon Ball lore. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive into it right now. So in the game it states now that, and this is of course part of the pages of the sort of book in the game that tells you the story, it says here that both Vegeta and Gohan make appearances as great apes at this point in the story, and they both happen to lose their tails, making it the last time the great ape transformation is seen, which is true. In the original manga and the anime, we don't see the great ape form again in the, like I said, in the original manga. After the Saiyan arc, GT does not count when we're talking about the original manga. Now, moving forward here, it says, a Saiyan's tail has an 8% chance of growing back, but it seems it will not grow back if the Saiyan's power exceeds that of the great ape transformation itself. So, couple things to note here. First of all, that 8% chance of growing back, that's brand new. That's never been discussed before in any of the material, not in the manga, not in the anime, not in any of the guidebooks. That 8% thing is brand new. Now, like I said before, this game, people got to stop putting so much stock into it because even though Toriyama's involved, we do not know exactly what Toriyama contributed to this game. We don't know if this was his idea or somebody at Bandai or whatever. We have no idea. But the whole 8% thing, that's not really too strange, to be honest. It's assumed that the tails grow back whenever they grow back. You know, it seems to be a story point that Toriyama kind of dropped. So the whole 8% thing is not the issue.
Meant to say
what is the
times,
issue and what I think is very strange is how it says that Saiyans, if a Saiyan's power exceeds that of the great ape transformation, that at that point it won't grow back. Now, a couple things that are weird about that. First of all, the Uzaru transformation, the great ape form, that is a multiplier. That's a 10% multiplier. So what's already bizarre about this is mathematically this makes no sense. How can you exceed the power of a multiplier? The Uzaru transformation provides 10 times power above what you already have. So if your power level is 1,000, you're going to be at 10,000 if you become a great ape. That's kind of simple math for everybody to understand. But if your power level goes up to 10,000, at that point you get a multiplier. 10,000 times 10 is 100,000. So as you evolve as a fighter, the way multipliers have worked from the beginning of Dragon Ball, this is not even like fan headcanon. This is statements from Toriyama himself in the past about how much power somebody gets from the transformations in the series. In this case, of course, the Great Ape, and that's always been a 10 times multiplier. So if Vegeta, as a little kid, had 1,000, as he trained and became stronger and stronger and stronger, that multiplier never left. So what doesn't make any sense whatsoever here is that obviously Vegeta and other Saiyans can become great apes from a very, very young age. Goku's power level at the beginning of Dragon Ball compared to how it was closer to the end of Dragon Ball is astronomically different. And if he had his tail, he should still be able to tap into that 10 times multiplier, because all it is a multiplier. So this right here doesn't really make any sense at all, especially when it comes to Saiyans like Vegeta and Nappa, who have trained and know how to control their grade 8 forms since childhood. If as a child you get a 10 times multiplier, that multiplier would mean a lot more the stronger you get. So obviously Vegeta surpassed how strong he was as a child. It just doesn't make much sense. What I think the idea behind this is just my kind of perception on this, is that when a Saiyan warrior hits a certain level of power internally, this is a case-by-case situation, that warrior will no longer need to regrow the tails because the tails kind of become obsolete. Again, very strange wording here, but this does somewhat explain as to why Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly does not have a tail. In some of the early promotion for Dragon Ball Super Broly, there was a photo of an icicle with like a tail there, and that was supposed to represent the villain of the movie, which we didn't know who it was at the time. Many people thought it was going to be Yamoshi, but it wound up being this new sort of rebooted Broly, and he had a tail there. But yet in the film, by the time that we get to the battle with Broly, you know, closer to the end of the film, he has no tail. So that in a way does make sense. It's almost like the Saiyan body is prepping for Super Saiyan, if that makes sense. It's almost like it's prepping for a higher power. So it's almost like the stronger you get, the more your tail regresses. That in itself does make sense, but the wording here is very, very odd. Now, moving forward, there's more game lore that discusses the secrets of Goku, so I'm going to go ahead and read this one to you as well. Being a Saiyan, Goku is capable of transforming into a grade 8 provided he has his tail. In order to prevent Goku from ever transforming again, Kami removed the tail. I went into detail about this and discussed it a little bit in the Piccolo video I did, the Geekdom Quickie, about this first, DBZ Kakarot story change, or whatever you want to call it, or contradiction. And to go on, it says there's still a small chance it will eventually grow back, though it seems it won't if a Saiyan becomes as strong as Goku. So that's very weird, because the term as strong as Goku is subjective. Goku's power changes as the series evolves. Which Goku are we talking about? The one from the Piccolo fight, from the Vegeta fight? It doesn't really elaborate. Now, one thing Toriyama did state, because there's is a bit of a connection here. In a previous interview in the Shonen Jump USA January 2003 interview, Toriyama was asked about what happened to Vegeta's tail after he was defeated on Earth, and he wrote the following: "The tail lets you gain tremendous strength instantly by transforming into a grade 8, but the risks are equally great. You'll lose your strength if it's squeezed. Once you're as powerful as Vegeta and Goku, the tail just gets in the way. It is thought that the bodies of Saiyans who are a fighting species inside their tails are unnecessary appendages." So, as the series progresses, the tails become less and less important. That we know. The only thing that's weird is the way it's worded. It's sort of like a Saiyan has to surpass whatever the initial 10 times multiplier is from birth, in which case Vegeta and Goku would have done that during their childhood, because obviously Goku, even at the beginning of Dragon Ball, was stronger than he was when he was born, because he's not a baby anymore. He's a martial artist. He trained with Master Gohan, his grandfather. He trained with Roshi as the series progressed. So Goku surpassed himself who knows how many times. At the end of the day, the wording here is really, really poor, and I'm wondering if there was something lost in translation, or possibly something that was not eloquently stated, because part of this makes no sense. But the idea that Saiyans and their tails sort of become less important as they get older and stronger, that's always made sense to me. So part of this does make sense, and the other part of it is a little bit odd. Also, like I said earlier in the video, that whole 8% chance of growing back thing is really, really, that's a new number right there. And I would actually believe that Toriyama did give that number to them, because Toriyama just kind of makes up numbers as he goes along. That's one thing that we kind of knew about in various interviews with him. So that doesn't really surprise me too much. But nonetheless, that is the story of DBZ Kakarot and the weird changes. That's why, or possibly why, Broly has no tail. Obviously, in the case of Goten and Trunks, Toriyama was already interviewed about this, and he says that tails are a recessive trait, and that most Saiyan hybrid babies do not get tails. I did a video on this a while ago, giving you the direct answer as to why Goten and Trunks have no tail. And it's not because Toriyama forgot. It's because it's a recessive trait and they were not born with tails. So, again, that is the original explanation for them. This one kind of makes more sense for characters like Broly, Goku, and Vegeta deeper into the series. If you want more information on the Grade 8 form, I've done 2 videos about it. I did a video covering the secret of the Grade 8 form, and I did a video in the transformation guide going even more in depth about the Grade 8 form's power and sort of the ideas behind it. So check out those 2 videos. You're going to see them pop up on your screen right now.